Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Shudder Slaughterhouse. I'm Daniel, and got three things for you this week. A couple of documentaries and a TV series. So let's get started first. Bust this bad boy out right here. First we got Black Lake. It's a Swedish, it's definitely more thriller than horror, but started back in 2016, ran for a couple seasons. This is a Shudder exclusive. Um, the basic plot here is this guy, I think his name is Johan, how you pronounce it? Uh, he goes out, he's wanting to buy the Black Lake Resort, which is, I'm guessing, on Black Lake. And, he's wanting to buy it and have it be a skiing resort, fully operational. So, him, his girlfriend, and all their friends kind of go out there for like a trial run. However, you find out as the series progresses that it has a bit of a dark past. There was a family that was murdered there, all being strangled, and then during this, a lot of weird things are happening. Noises from the cellar. When they try to have the caretaker kind of look into it, like he just refuses. He's like no, and he acts like he don't want him there at all. They all start waking up, and they all have this weird bloodshot eye, and they have this like nightmare of being strangled, by some kind of force or whatever. And so that kind of sets it up as because his girlfriend's fully believes that there's something supernatural afoot here. There's something dark, some kind of curse or something, and now they're all starting to turn against each other. You know, as it goes on, this ain't really much of a spoiler, I guess, because it's a horror show or whatever. The dudes are kind of getting picked off, and you're trying to figure out what's going on. And that's really the description. I won't go into both seasons because it's two seasons. They're about 8 episodes a season. That was the first season, and then we'll get in. I'll briefly touch on the second because I won't give away too many spoilers. I wasn't huge on this. Here's my thing. These like Scandinavian, Norwegian type of shows, Sweden, whatever, in that area. Like, whenever The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo came out, now I didn't see the original. I saw trailers or whatever, but I saw, the remake. I know there's a huge slew of these movies being made afterwards, geared toward America. We had like The Snowman and Dark Crimes and stuff like that. And they're all the same. They're just very bleak looking, very snowy, very cold, dreary. And I mean, like, the mysteries aren't bad, but they're just like, And I don't know. And with the exception of The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, they're rarely good. Like, I don't know, they just come across drab and boring and dull. And I'm usually just kind of like, ugh. And I mean, there may be some dark to it, and there may be some good stuff, but it's just like overall, I feel like with this show, especially season 1, there was just a lot of fucking filler, and it went forever. Like, I didn't really fully get engaged in the first season until like episode 3 or 4. Like, no joke. If it wasn't for me reviewing it on here, I would have just fucking turned it off. Like, it really wasn't that good of a show. It does pick up as the show goes on. The only noble, it wasn't even a noble cast member, I just know his family. There's a guy on there, his name is Walter Skarsgård. And I was like, I wonder if that's the same Skarsgård that's related to Bill Skarsgård. And it turns out it is. And Stellan and Alexander, there's a whole fucking group of them. But dude looks just like Bill. Like, it's crazy. And the whole time I was like, I wonder if I'll be able to recognize him. And then sure enough, as soon as you see him, like, oh shit, yeah, it's definitely, that's gotta be Walter. But anyways, no, I couldn't get into it. It took forever. And then there's where I'm gonna sound like a racist piece of shit. All these, like, Swedish or Norwegian or wherever they were, women, they all fucking looked alike to me. Like, every one of them looked similar. I couldn't just, distinguish one from the other. They were just all white and brunette and just like, huh? Like, it took a while to really kind of, it takes a minute for everybody to kind of get their characters in place too, so it just seems like, just random white people entering the room talking, and you're just like, who's that again? I don't even remember. It just, I don't know. When you get to the revelation of season 1, you get to the end, it's not bad. I mean, I feel like the entire season could have been shortened. Because, like, each episode's like 40 minutes long, 44 minutes long, something like that. It could have been shortened. Like, all the episodes, just condense it down to a 2-hour fucking movie. and you wouldn't have lost much, like seriously. And I think you could have done it. And that would have been better. And that goes for season 2 too. I'll get that in a second. So, anyways, and it ends with a bit of and it's okay. I mean, you know it's coming. That's the thing. A lot of stuff in this was very obvious, I guess, is the best way to say it. But I don't know. At the end, you're just like, all right, it was what it was. And I was like, maybe season 2 will be better. Maybe season 2 will be better. And a lot of aspects, season 2 was better, or series 2, whatever you want to call it. I know different countries have different names. We call them seasons over here. I know like Britain calls them series. I don't know what they call it over in Sweden. But anyways, I won't give away too much because I don't want to spoil season 1 at all or whatever. But it's very flimsily connected. In fact, I say that it's not connected at all. There's one character. It's a prequel series. It takes place before season 1, but only one character carries over. Well, there's a couple, but there's only one main character that really kind of carries over. And I'm sure if you've seen the poster, it's on Shudder. I'm sure you click on it, it'll show like the season 2 picture, so you'll know which one's going over or whatever. But and it starts off a little bit better. I like the setup a little bit better. But then, it just seems like after 1 or 2 episodes, they're just spinning their wheels to get to the end. So it's like they got this whole middle section of just nothing. Just fucking nothing happening. And it's like, there'll be 44-minute episodes, so 30 minutes of that is just nothing, and then the last 15 or so is just like, oh hey, look at this, we're moving the plot. And they usually do that shit in the beginning and the very end, and the rest of it's just nothing. And I'm like, fuck, you could condense this down to a 2-hour movie too. It is what it is. And the ending of that one I thought was so fucking flat. It was so anticlimactic. I don't know. I wasn't big on it. It just kind of, yeah. And so, anyways, the good folks at Shudder, what they got this rated at? They got it rated at, the Shudder community has this rated at 4 out of 5 skulls. I'm sorry, I'm dropping this down to 2 skulls. I just did not care for this overall. There's some good in it, and who knows? Maybe if season 3 looks promising, I may check it out, but I doubt it. Anyways, yes, I'm giving this 2 out of 5 skulls. I'm gonna say don't waste your time unless you're really into this kind of these types of story. Like I said, it's not really horror either. I mean, it definitely has the horror element, but it definitely comes across like a thriller drama for the entire 2 seasons. It don't really ever get too crazy. All right, up next we got Horror Noire: A History of Black Horror. This thing came out in 2019, and this is actually a Shudder original. It's a documentary that takes a look back at African Americans and their roles in horror films from the beginning of horror all the way up till now, and just kind of just basically how they been portrayed or treated throughout the run of it. This thing was a very interesting piece because I watched recently. There was a documentary that came out. This came out a few years ago. What was it, back in the 90s, called Badass Cinema? And maybe it might have been Badass Cinema. I don't remember. But anyways, it was a whole documentary about blaxploitation. And not gonna lie, I literally only fell into that because I do like blaxploitation cinema, but Quentin Tarantino had a big chunk of interviews in that, so that's really what drew me to it. But when I watched it, it was just incredible. Learned a lot and everything else. And so this, I noticed a lot of similarities there. I will say, and I won't give away too much. Like I said, I definitely recommend this documentary. You get a lot of cool interviews with Jordan Peele, Keith David. Ken Faree, Tony Todd, and then there's a lot of scholars and people like that as well. The one thing that I'll throw you a little example out there because once again, clearly there's always been racism as depicted in movies, intentional or unintentional. Still, it's there. And the one thing I really liked was when they were talking about how, because horror kind of went away in the 50s. It was kind of replaced by sci-fi. I mean, there's definitely horror elements there, but, for the most part, those were sci-fi movies. And the one thing I never thought about, because when you look back at the 30s and 40s and African Americans in those, they said they were basically portrayed in 3 different ways. They were either the natives or the savages of, the land. They were servants, or they were goofy comical sidekicks. And I forget the guy's name. They mentioned him briefly. I thought they'd have more on him than this because I actually got a handful of movies of him. I want to say his name was Maitland Moreland, something like that. And he did a handful of them like that. And I mean, it is very offensive to watch, but god damn it, he was funny. I enjoy watching him. I will agree they were definitely not showing him in the best light, obviously. But anyways, but they were always kind of shown as they're uber scared of like ghosts, you know. It's just it really is offensive, but at the same time, that's just how they were portrayed back then. But they said like when the 50s rolled around, and most of these movies took place like in laboratories and you know, space stations and, you know, science like that. Uh, the black people just disappeared from these movies, and I guess studios pretty much just flat out said like, you know, there should be nobody of color in these space stations or these laboratories, and it's just like, holy shit, that's fucking racist, you know. And but that's the way it was for the longest time, and you know, it goes all the way up to like, you know, 1968's Night of the Living Dead. Of course, we all know, you know, Black Lead there, and just kind of, it really was a game changer all around. But it really is just an interesting watch, and I highly do recommend that. They got rated at 5 skulls out of 5, and I'm going to give it 3 out of 5. Only because, I mean, it's really good, but I don't ever see myself rewatching this. Like, I feel like, you know, one view's good enough, and it kind of, you know, I give my skulls based on rewatch ability, and you know, I don't see myself rewatching this, but it is really good. You know, definitely check it out. You know, once. So, and then the last thing I'm gonna watch, I'm gonna make sure I get the title right. These all have like long ass fucking titles. Crystal Lake Memories: The Complete History of Friday the 13th. This came out in 2013, and this is just a complete look at the entire Friday the 13th franchise. And so whenever I remember when this came out, I just had no desire to watch it, and not because, you know, because I love Friday the 13th. I'm a huge Friday the 13th fan. Get my Jason poster over there, actually. But no, the reason I didn't really go into it initially was mainly because, like, okay, whenever the box set 1 through 8 came out, I mean, they had a ton of special features on that. And then, of course, you know, you watched the Jason Goes to Hell and Jason X and Freddy vs. Jason and the reboot. They all had to. So, like, I had, like, every special feature to every fucking one. And, of course, in that box set, there's a big documentary as well. And then a few years later, they busted out the His Name Was Jason movie, which was also a big ass documentary. And so I was watching that as well. So I felt like I've already seen all this shit. Like, I really don't need to see any more. And I just didn't watch it. And that's unfortunate to me. I never watched the Nightmare on Elm Street one. It has a name like Red, White, and Blood or something like that. The Nightmare. Anyway, but they have a big, you know, extensive look at that. But at the same time, I was like, I just watched the documentary and a bunch of special features. So I never got around to watching it. But it's on here, and it's like 6.5 hours long. It's a big one. Like, I had to break it up into several nights because the first night, well, we were having issues with our internet, so that's, you know, that's beside the point. But then after that, you know, now that I have Adrian, I'm constantly, you know, watching him. So I had to break this up into several things. But honestly, that's probably the best way to watch it, because if you're going to sit down and watch all 6.5 hours, you're a maniac. But anyways, I will say there wasn't a whole lot of new information here. I think a lot of the hardcore Friday the 13th fans know this, but it's still fun to, you know, listen and watch, and, you know, everybody kind of, you know, recollect, you know, their memories of this. The biggest kind of new thing that I got from this, or the big takeaway I took from here, was they do talk about the short-lived Friday the 13th series, and I knew next to nothing about that. Like, I knew that it had nothing to do really with the movie at all, and they just used the title only, but it was officially like a Paramount whatever. But I didn't know anything else about that, and there's a good chunk of the movie where they actually do talk about that show, and so that was really cool, and I really dug that. And, you know, once again, I'm not trying to knock this, because honestly, even though I've already seen, you know, a lot of the stuff or knew a lot of stuff, it was a fun watch. Like I said, you know, if you're a fan of the series, I highly recommend it. I'm sure most of you guys have already watched it. The Shudder community gave this a 5 out of 5, and I'm going to tell you what, I agree. This is 5 out of 5 easily. And I mean, this is something, even though it's 6.5 hours long, I can see myself watching this again, you know, a few years down the road. Because in all honesty, of all the documentaries I've watched, or special features or whatever, you wouldn't have to watch any of them but this one. Like, this would be the definitive one to watch. So there you have it. So that's my watch of the week right there. So if there's anything from this show to take away, watch Crystal Lake Memories. So, and so it's like Corey Feldman, which is always fun to see him do stuff, because I like Corey Feldman. I'm a Corey Feldman fan, so I always like seeing him, you know, do stuff. Although I will say, like, this dude's clearly older, and he's dressing like some kind of teenage kid in this. Like, his outfit was just atrocious. Not the one we shoot in, like, the intro, the bookend stuff, but like his actual interview scenes. It's like, come on, dude, dress your age just a little bit. Which I guess I'm not one to talk, because I'm wearing my Mount Rushmore horror shirt. I feel like I gotta wait till I'm 40 to stop wearing these kind of shirts, but I'm 35, so I'm good for right now. Anyways, so yes, there it is, guys. Black Lake, Horror Noir, and Crystal Lake Memories. Also, I checked out. I'd recommend the documentaries. TV show, not so much, unless you're just a fan of that style. So that's all I got, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Tune in next week.
Control me. This is my story.